our viewers, local and worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, as I promised you, for those of you who've been checking out social media posts, you knew what was coming your way today. You would have read that we are in the midst of an election, a election for city councillor for the new 25 ward system in Toronto. And of course, the GBKMFM studios is located right in the heart of Ward 7 and Ward 8, otherwise known as the mouthpiece for the community. We're so proud to have that tagline. As the mouthpiece, we have a responsibility to bring to you all of the issues and concerns that matter to you on a day-to-day basis. And one of the biggest issues right now and concerns is your great, beautiful ward and the expansion of this big, beautiful, historical ward and the candidates that are vying for the opportunity to represent your voice in Toronto City Hall. And as a result of that, we are bringing to you one more candidate in the series of candidates that we have brought on board. And the candidate today is none other than Mr. Jane and Finch himself, Mr. Winston Larose. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce Mr. Winston Larose to the Ordinary People Show this morning. Good morning, sir, and how are you?
Well, I'm delighted to be here, Jackie. I think what a beautiful lead-in. I love that piece from the great Bob Marley himself. Get up, stand up. Stand up for your right, Jane Pinchers. I am so delighted. I've sat in this chair before a year ago.
Yes, you have.
And I've watched the progression of this wonderful local business enterprise. I want to encourage Mr. Kenneby and yourself, Jack, and you do such a wonderful, remarkably good job for this community. We want to ensure that as a business entity in this area, that continues with the vigor and forcefulness that it deserves to have.
Thank you so much for that, sir. Thank you so much. And just to share with our listeners before we jump into the interview, Mr. Winston Larose was one of the first individuals within the community of any high profile level to visit GBKM studios when we did the relaunching of GBKM almost 2 years ago. And he was one of the first supporters to come and visit the studios and give us an interview at that time when we rebranded GBKM, and we thank you so much for that, the encouragement that you brought to us at that time. And who knew that in less than 2 years from that date that we would have you back here, but now running in the capacity of City Councilor Representative for Ward 7 and 8. Congratulations to you, sir. Congratulations.
Even I did not know that.
No, we didn't know that, did we? So let's get started. Let's get started. For those of our viewers who are tuned in today because of curiosity, for those of you who are tuned in because you're avid listeners and you are somewhat politically engaged in the process, if you can share with them, please, a little bit about who you are. Who is Mr. Jane and Finch?
Well, that's the real question. And I'm so glad that I'm able to walk and run with that name. Jane and Finch is a powerful symbolic name. The people of this community has suffered so much over the last few decades, and I want to see them remain in this community and to enjoy the benefits that are definitely coming. There's been a rebuilding, Jackie, a reconstruction, a redevelopment, a redesign of Jane Finch. And I have just a plan, just a program for Jane Finch in the downtown, I call it the downtown of the new GTA, at the intersection of Jane and Finch. That's the new dynamic development that's going to be happening right here for all the businesses that are located here, and certainly for the business and spin-off work opportunities coming back to real Jane Finchers.
Wow, that sounds so powerful, so powerful. So let's talk about your history with Jane and Finch, the Jane and Finch community. You're no newcomer to this community. There's a reason why they've dubbed you Mr. Jane and Finch. I've done some research. I've looked into your background too, and I mean it spans so many years. So I'll only briefly touch on what I'm able to discuss in this time period that we have together. But my understanding is that you've been an advocate in this area for some 40 years now. And you've advocated on so many social issues for the residents that have come and gone. Many of them have left the area, and you continue to advocate for the ones that are still here. Can you tell us what has your role been as an advocate, or in whatever different capacities you have held over the 40-year span of time that you've been involved with Jane and Finch?
Jackie, that provides me a wonderful leading opportunity, because Jane Finch and the word itself means so much to me. It has such enormous power and value. It brings some people to anger, some to tears, some to resentment, some to discouragement, but there's a bright future ahead of Jane Finch. Having said that, let me say a big hello to all my contenders. The people that some might like me, some might not like me, some might think I'm too old. But listen, age is experience, power, strength, dynamic, vitality. And I will say to all of my contestants, or the contenders contesting this position that I dearly will be possessing, my birthday is on October 10th, coming up soon. I'll be 81 years old. And I'll challenge all of you or any of you to come and run against me and my track meet at York University on that day in the 100 meters. And if you can beat me in that 100-meter race, I'll sit back for you. So come on down, you're welcome. Having said that, why did I come to Jane Finch? Now, in 1994, I was downtown in Mavity Street doing all the community work I've been doing, but in my business, the African Canadian Communication and Broadcasting Corporation. And out of Mavity, we are doing many, many projects and programs. And I saw this newspaper article from a lady named Linda Morroway, who founded the organization that I now lead called Jane Finch Concerned Citizens Organization. It's been here for 40 years this year.
Wow. And
I've transferred this organization from the York Woods Gate Plaza, where we were situated, into the York Gate Mall from 2000. 19 years in that mall. The first community organization to come into that mall under my direction and leadership. I'm known as Mr. Jane and Finch because I belong to that corner, because I've been a part of that corner, and because everyone who's been helped, including some of my contendants, right? I've helped them all to positions that they've acquired, including Mr. Peruzza. And so whether it's Judith Groh, Peruzza, Depreti, Mamaditi, Mario Sergio, they've all come to me, Mr. Jane and Finch, to get my help and support from the community that I've been helping. Community that are in the jail currently, community that are unemployed, community that their children are kicked out of the schools, and I've had to represent that. Police officers in the school, I've had to fight against that. No police officers in our Jane Finch school. Put them somewhere else. We don't need them here. I want to make sure when I'm in City Council that all the capacity that I have in me, all the energies, go to represent the people of Jane Finch. But please bear with me. When I say Jane Finch, I was talking about the area that was included all the way down to Shepherd. Mm-hmm. Well, our Premier, Mr. Ford, decided he should bring Tiffany Ford and me together because she's the one that asked me to run in the Ward 8 riding. And when he made that magic stroke and cut her city council into 25 seats, we ended up facing off against each other because she was in Ward 7 against Mama Lady. But now we're in the race together. I love Tiffany. I have nothing to say negative about Miss Tiffany Ford. Wonderful young lady. She has to have the experience she's having. And if she's elected, she'll be a great representative. I want to say to all the other contenders, go ahead. You need the experience. Don't be angry at anybody who's running. This is just a political campaign. I'm there to do the changes that I have in mind for Jane Finch, which is enormous. It calls for the redevelopment with a downtown at the center of that much maligned Jane and Finch intersection. Call all these evil names and say that there's even cockroaches running around in it. Well, I am about ensuring that Jane Finch remains the pride, the jewel of this new redevelopment that is going to it's definitely going to transpire. It's happening already. We've got subways going all the way to Vaughan. Mm-hmm. They didn't exist when I started proposing my Jane-Finch Economic Community Initiative in 2012. And I was responsible for bringing in the Pan Am Games as the host committee here into the Jane-Finch area with a torch relay. All of these things have been very, very fundamental to the legacies, among many others. And I can talk about those, but I don't want to overstay my welcome here. But I just want to say, I did not intend to come and take over the show, but I want to let the people out there know that I'm up and running. And candidates, if you dreaded my coming on, don't fear. Just go out and act. Let the people of the area, including those south of Jane-Finch, because now they're partners with us, they are southern neighbors, but I'm running for you as well, because I'm going to have a BIA, business improvement area, also at the corner of Jane and Wilson. So you're all included, and all the people over there, I know the chalk farm buildings, I know them all, I've been in them. I've represented people in those areas. So with that, I am your representative potential. Vote for me, and you're going to have a Jane-Finch that will be protected, and that will meet all the requirements that you have in your desirabilities.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Wow. Who could ask for more of an intro than that? That is a resume and a half. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Larose. Let's just jump into some questions now. Let's get to some specific questions asked and answered, specific to the now new Ward 7-8, which is now aligned with the same area, the circumference as the Humber River, Black Creek riding for our provincial leaders. So our city councilor leaders will now be representing the same territory that the provincial leaders are going to be representing as well. Is that correct?
That's true.
Okay.
And I want to say to our voters out there that there's going to be a great disadvantage for you. Having cut the City of Toronto Council in half, relatively, that you no longer would have the same quality of representation that you had before. Don't forget that we had 5 city councils before the GTA amalgamation took place. And that's a mere 18 or so years ago. At that time, we had 5 mayors, including the current downtown mayor. We had 5 city councils, enormous amounts of money in those councils, and larger numbers, over 120 council members. The wisdom of the then government that we should amalgamate and reduce the size of all of that potential that existed, all the good works that those 5 mayoralties were doing in each of those areas, now is all in one space, downtown, and you can hardly get them to respond to you until Rob Ford came along and everybody could reach him and the current premier, Doug Ford. They'll call you back. You try to get to City Hall now, and you can't get anybody. You get machines much of the time. That has to change. So the changing of the size of that council has put a disadvantage not only to the electors, these are the people that are going to be voting, but people like myself coming on. It gives us a disadvantage because in the short time while the provincial government was in this play as to whether we got 25 or 47 seats, we were not sure what area we'll be leading. And so we, the newcomers coming into the race, including all those new ones that have come in, we are at a disadvantage to the guys like Marita and Peruts that have been there forever. So that is not fair to electors who want change but don't really have the same opportunity to speak to the people that can bring that change for them. And so I'm appealing to you not to be influenced by the fact that they've been there before and have been for long periods of time. Look at the potential in the new people that are running. And many of you know who I am. But having said that, my aim is to ensure that this new district arrangement, we have that now, it's law. Because the provincial government has had it now approved and it's now the law. So we're going to have 25 representatives. I will be representing, when I'm elected, both the ridings that used to be Ward 7.
And that consists of over 100,000 people.
120,000 people at least.
So you've gone from 58,000 approximately based on 2016 census to just in and around that 118,000 person range. So that's pretty well doubling the size of the district. And we do have some concerns about the ability of City Council now to effectively represent such a large group. of individuals on a more personalized basis. Because yes, it's easy to say that, well, it's the same size as the MPs, but the MPs' responsibilities and the city councilor's responsibilities are very much different. A city councilor's responsibility is much more personalized than an MP, and we expect our city council representatives to be attainable. And if you are not attainable, then how effective can you be? And it does appear that it could be strenuous for a city councilor who is supposed to be an attainable person to be able to manage as much as 120,000 people. It does appear that it could potentially be a challenge, but we're going to move on to some other questions. We're going to talk about specifically what's going on in this area right now. Humber River Black Creek, 120,000 residents approximately. Do you know what the poverty rate is here, the child poverty rate? Do you know where we stand nationwide in regards to the child poverty rate here in the Humber River Black Creek?
Well, thanks for that question, Jackie. Well, as you must know, that of course we are a large city in Canada, here in Toronto. And we have a concentration of high-density populations of people in high-rise buildings located in these various district areas that they now call at risk or high risk. And the risk comes from the fact that many of these people are impoverished. Many of them are on social service benefits. Many of them are in Toronto community housing units and some paying market rents, but a good number of them paying subsidized rentals. The problem for me is that the consistency with which this situation has remained over the last 30 years has been just that. It's remained the same with little change happening. But there's some hope, even with the reduced size of council. That hope is that we know a larger area and there's been a redevelopment focus in a major corridor that runs from Toronto all the way down to Waterloo, with metro links connecting all of these in particular regions, larger numbers of population and businesses, enormous amount of business activities right into downtown, which is now Toronto, which has become the heart of this entire corridor. Now, the interesting thing is, and these politicians are not talking about it, is that the Jane and Finch intersection is right at the center of that socioeconomic hub. We are the new dynamic business center, business, commercial, residential area that will dominate this whole larger GTA in the Northwest Corridor once the LRTs or subway lines connect the Finch West Station onto the new Woodbine Center. At Woodbine, there's a dynamic new development coming, billions of dollars worth of development, creating literally a new town with lots of tourism coming. That tourism spill-off is going to come over to Black Creek Pioneer Village. It's going to come to the Black Creek Farm. It's going to come to the local malls, Jane and Finch Mall and the Yorkgate Mall. We are the new business center right here at the corner of Jane and Finch. I want to see intensified development right at that corner. I don't want any kind of machine shop there at the corner, which is the Metrolink's new proposed building.
I think that's wonderful. It's very ambitious, and I get excited just hearing you talk about it. I'm extremely motivated to move in that direction, I'm sure. But let's be realistic about the type of things that attract investors, the type of things that attract businesses, investment from big business in order to come into a region like this. One of the things that attract big business to invest is the economic condition of the region. If the economic condition of the region is not conducive to them investing millions of dollars to not expect a return, what could possibly persuade them to do so? If the poverty rate in this area is within the top 15, matter of fact, we are number 6 in Canada. Number 6. The top 15 areas in the entire country for child poverty rates, and Black Creek, Humber River Black Creek lands at number 6. That's just something to take into consideration. So if the child poverty rate is at 39%, 39.5, that's like 40% of the children in this area are living in poverty.
That's true.
What is going to attract a big business to come here and invest, knowing that the likelihood of them getting a return on their dollar is slim, if any?
Everything you say is a positive. That's exactly what's going to attract them. When big business invests, it's looking at resources, which could include human resource, qualified human resources, but it includes infrastructure. You need to have the water, you need to have the roadways, you need to have the connecting linkages with subways and transportation that facilitates getting from the resource production to distribution and all of those things. What is happening that is dynamically exciting, Jackie, is that we have a labor force unemployed, but it's untrained. My Jane-Finch Economic Community Initiative that I proposed 6 years ago has all of those pieces in it. Retraining and working with social service with all those people who are receiving welfare benefits, and with the Toronto Community Benefits Network that is bringing all the massive redevelopment, construction jobs and training opportunities, bring it to the local area. There's a contract or several contracts signed already that will facilitate the not just a privilege, but the right for unemployed people, disadvantaged people, to be trained to get those jobs, and the unions are working with this. So I see a great opportunity and the potential for it existing right therein.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is you're looking at this not that the glass is half empty, but it's half full. So you're suggesting, and if I'm correct, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, that the level of unemployment, which in this region, the Humber River Black Creek, which is extremely high, the level of unemployment is actually a positive for the investors, because there is a workforce here that is ready, if trained, to take on the positions that they would be offering if they should come to the region.
You captured
is this
that.
what I'm hearing?
You captured that correctly.
Okay.
And I cannot overemphasize that. It's really on. Our people are unemployed. They're dying to work. The reason they're ending up in jails is because they're hungry. They don't have jobs. They got to feed families. And that's literally become a culture because of the neglect that has happened. Nobody has forced employment training into this community. They keep putting more police officers, and that's not doing what's intended. What we need to do is bring in those investors. They're coming anyway, Jackie. I've got to tell you that. The fact that the redevelopment is already planned for whether it's subway or LRTs, that's a lot of jobs. The fact that we're going to redevelop that big site across from the Yorkgate Mall is a lot of jobs in that. The fact that we have a stadium, we have the 2 subways, we're going to see redevelopment, and there are major developments that are going to happen even within TCHC. With the reconstruction of the Pergoda area. It's already closed down many residences.
Let's talk about Toronto community housing. That's a big hot button topic for this election cycle, and I want to hear your take on it. What is your opinion on the proposed redevelopment of many of the TCH housing projects within the Humber River Black Creek? Are you for or against the redevelopment and the revitalization of the area?
I'm very much for. My only caveat to that is that redevelopment must include the local populations. We don't want it to be pushed down our throats from on high. I'm saying when you're doing any kind of planning and designing of a new community, then we must have the local population engaged in
I want to get more specific, though, because I really appreciate you giving me an on-camera response. So many of the candidates have shied away from answering that question head on, not wanting to offend anybody on either side. But I think, as my dear father always says, if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing.
Very true.
So if what you're saying is you do back the revitalization
Absolutely.
of the Humber River Black Creek community, where the TCH housing projects are concerned, I'm going to get more specific, in which manner? Do you believe we should be bringing in mixed housing? Should we tear down these places, bring in mixed housing? Should we just simply tear it down to rebuild another hub for, underprivileged or, low-income earners? What is your vision for the tear down and the build-up?
The program I talked about, called the Jane-Finch Economic Community Initiative, or JF-ECI, is dealing precisely with that issue. Houses, there is a gentrification process underway as we speak.
Okay.
The moment the infrastructure was built, taking us from the downtown Toronto to the uptown in Vaughan City, the moment that happened, it transformed this area.
Mm-hmm.
We have become the center core of redevelopment. All the potential investors know that already.
Okay.
Metrolinx is already organized with all kind of interconnecting lines to ensure that that happens. So what I will say to my people that live in community housing, don't have a fear about that.
Mm-hmm.
Organize. I'm willing to work with you to ensure you're protected this way.
Okay.
That you can buy back into the redevelopment.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see mixed housing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see well-designed high-rise,
Wow.
mid-rise, powerful townhouses, recreational spaces. This is the change that must come, and it is coming. What our other brothers who are contenders and incumbents, what they're sitting quietly by, they know that's going to happen. But as Mr. Mamdisi said, he's going to move out all those cockroaches and put them somewhere else. Now,
but then we also...
we're not going to let him make that happen. But you're going to say, I want to hear your point on that.
Well, I don't have a point.
Yeah, all right. Well, the point,
I don't have
the
a
point
because,
is this.
Because this is, we're nonpartisan.
Yeah.
And there is no bias here. We love all of our candidates in this area.
So
I love them
yes.
all.
Yes.
So
I respect them.
So I don't
respect
have an
their
opinion,
political points
but I
of
do
view.
know that
Yes.
in certain cases, one can be misread,
Mm-hmm.
and I know that individuals can say things which can be taken out of context.
All right.
And we are very, very careful because we are media, and we know the power of the megaphone. So we're careful not
Jackie,
to.
I can't let that go unanswered.
Okay.
Because I hear repetitions of the same thing in different forms.
Okay.
We talk about cockroaches.
Yes.
We talk about dark conditions and dark situations and dark ones.
Yes.
The implications are very clear to me of what that meaning is, and many of us understand it that way.
Yes.
You cannot disrespect the community in that way. So
Fair.
I want to say to all the diverse communities out there, I respect our diversity as a strength,
Mm-hmm.
not a hindrance to our development. And so any representative or potential representative, be it an incumbent or not, that does not recognize one important aspect of that diversity, that is people of color, whether it be Vietnamese, Chinese, Africans of all shapes and colors and sizes, and black people who represent a whole stream of colors and ranges of everything, respect us all.
Absolutely.
We're here to serve this community. We build this community, and you cannot do it without us. Now, don't lock us up all, right? Build a potential, not jails.
Fantastic.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
saying that this redevelopment, Jane and Finchers, people at the Jane and Finch intersection, this is a large, huge developmental opportunity for all of you. What you need to do is organize. I'll help you organize, no matter how poor you are, no matter how disadvantaged you are. You vote for me, I'll organize with you to ensure your place is protected.
Fantastic.
Every new high-rise or mid-rise development that goes up around here, you will be a part of it. You're going to be buying back into it. The government from TCHE will help you pay for that. I'll make sure they help you pay.
Wow.
I was visiting with a gentleman in the Shoreham area, and they've neglected to repair. His roof is leaking, the ceiling. He has buckets collecting that water, right? He's been speaking to them for months now. I think Tiffany Ford intervened on that, and yet nothing has been done. I'm saying to you right now, all these neglected conditions by Toronto Community Housing, that's going to change. Mr. Peruzza, you had the opportunity to do that. I'm saying that I'm not going to allow that system to continue. City Hall is responsible for Toronto Community Housing. Otherwise, let's upload it back to the province that downloaded it in the first place.
Thank you
right?
so much for
If
that.
they're going to neglect our people in the Toronto Community Housing, whether they're seniors or people on social service benefits, they're not there because they love being on those things. I'm a senior. I'm speaking for you seniors, and I'm speaking for you young ones. You connect with your elders, respect your elders, have discipline, and you will be better off, and everybody will respect you. We are not here as segregated groups of diversity, and the difference that means age, whether you're a baby, a senior, a middle-ager, or whatever you are, or a youthful, aggressive young one. We're all part of that diversity. How you manage diversity is your strength. And the strength that you have that will be empowered from your voting, exercise it and vote. Currently, you don't vote. That's why
Thank
Mr.
you.
Peruta will win again. And that's
let
why
me
the
jump-
other guys
let
will
me
win
jump
again.
in here because
So
we've got
some
opportunities
like this often.
We've got
but I'm
some
gonna say it
fire
loud and
in
clear,
the
right?
studio.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is fire in the GBKM studio today. You know one of your
Let them
one
answer
of
me.
your opponents is sitting outside
Well,
waiting
I
to
hope
come in
he's
next.
hearing me,
You know one of
because
your
I'd
opponents,
like to
but
sit
that's
down and
okay.
debate
Listen,
him,
there's
right?
some fire in the studio today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to try to contain it to a certain degree. There's so many questions we don't have
Well,
enough
you know
time.
there's a debate coming up, right?
Of course there's
Well,
a
let's
debate.
talk about the
GBKM,
debate. Well,
let me
let's
just
talk about
ask,
the
but
debate,
let me
right?
get back to a question you touched on just now.
Yeah.
You talked about voter turnout. Now let me tell you something. Discouraging. I feel it's my civic duty. Every opportunity that I get, and I have a microphone in my hand, I use it, sir, to educate young and old about their voting rights, about their God-given right to cast a vote for any individual that they believe speaks to their core, that they believe would like to represent their voice in whatever capacity. And I really emphasize the fact that you need to exercise your right to vote and be a part of the decision-making process. If you want change, you need to be a part of the decision-making process. Now, in order to be a part of the decision-making process, step one is to vote. This area, Humber River, Black Creek, has historically the lowest voter turnout.
Thank
now,
you for
I have a
saying that.
number
Yes.
of reasons that can support why it is such a low voter turnout, but nonetheless, it is a low voter turnout. If you expect to win, Mr. Jane and Finch,
Yes, ma'am.
you're going to have to move that voter turnout
I will be doing
from
that.
the 42%
Yes.
that it's currently at
At
to
least
at
the
least 60.
Thank you. And I intend to do that. I was walking the streets this morning, and with Babukar, who is one of the persons helping me on my walk around, among others, and we touched on Eddystone, all the businesses there. They were excited to have me come in and present my card and talk to them about a business improvement area. I went over to the Yorkwoods Gate Plaza. Every individual business, every one of them was excited
Good.
to have me come there
Good.
to talk about the dynamism and the potential in business opportunities for local canvassers.
Yes.
People that are coming around, they're having those kind of discussions, but nobody's talking to them about that.
Yes.
I think if we can energize our business community here, it's going to create the jobs that our local people need.
Yes.
Every one of these jobs that are happening, when they walk on the subway, our people were not on those jobs.
Okay.
They came from outside. Every one of those subway stations in the area. The same thing with the stadium that was built for the Pan Am Games. We were not employed there. They're going to do the same thing with the railway tracks if we don't get our people empowered in voting. Jackie, you said it. I said to all the 18-year-olders, you have not voted. Vote for the first time. All the people that say they don't do anything for me, so I won't vote, if you do not vote, you have no real excuse, because they're going to say to you, well, what noise are you making? You didn't vote for me. Vote for me, and you will get what you deserve, which is an improved and dynamic and revitalized Jane-Finch that you can feel proud of to call your own. Mr. Jane and Finch.
Mr.
Thank
Jane
you.
and Finch, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jane and Finch. Now, Mr. Jane and Finch, we're going to be wrapping up now. I mean, we just had so many questions to ask, but you know what? I still have those questions
Well,
to
I'll
be
come
asked,
back. I'll come
and
back.
they will be asked of Mr. Winston Larose. And they will be asked of Mr. Winston Larose at this coming debate.
Oh,
There
yes,
is a
yes,
debate
that's
this
true.
coming Tuesday, October
second,
October the
I believe.
2nd.
Yes.
It's going to be at the York Woods Library
The
Theater.
Library, yes.
And Mr.
Right.
Larose, you are going to be at the debate, am I correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I said to all the 18-year-olders, you have not voted. Vote for the first time. All the people that say they don't do anything for me, so I won't vote, if you do not vote, you have no real excuse because they're going to say to you, well, what noise are you making? You didn't vote for me. Vote for me, and you will get what you deserve, which is an improved and dynamic and revitalized Jane Finch that you can feel proud of to call your own. Mr. Jane and Finch.
Mr. Jane
Thank
and
you.
Finch, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jane and Finch.